out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, for the first time in a long time, the folks in the Carolinas can actually think about their Panthers possibly being postseason bound. With their win today over the Atlanta Falcons, the Panthers are 6-5, as this is the most amount of games that they've won in a season since 2022 when they went 7-10 that year. But nonetheless, you look at this Panthers team, and there is clearly something different about them, and it starts with their second-year head coach, Dave Canales. Now, when the Panthers hired Canales last year, he was brought in to fix quarterback Bryce Young, who, after struggling as a rookie in 2023, had some people questioning whether or not that the former first overall pick had what it took to succeed in the NFL. And after Young was benched early last season in favor of veteran Andy Dalton, things have slowed down for the former Heisman Trophy winner. Today we saw Young gutted out on a bum right ankle, and when the game was in the books, he had thrown a career high 448 yards with 3 touchdowns and 0 picks. As honestly, Bryce Young is a testament of putting players around the right coaches, especially young quarterbacks, because I think, Bryce Young came into a very difficult situation back in 2023. Remember, head coach Frank Reich wanted CJ Stroud. The owner of the Carolina Panthers wanted Bryce Young. There was a lot of bad stuff there, okay? And honestly, I felt like the Panthers at that time were a bad team. And typically, you got to be very careful starting young quarterbacks on bad teams, especially right out of the chute. I've always been a proponent. Get yourself a veteran quarterback, and at the very least, for like 5 or 6 games, let that young man sit on the bench, kind of view the game, and then give him the keys to the franchise. And I think when Canales sat Young down last year, I think things slowed down for the youngster, and I think the Panthers are benefiting it from that right now. You look at this team this season. In Carolina, they dropped 3 out of the first 4 to begin the year. But since then, they've won 5 out of their last 7. And in the process, they're breathing down the necks of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for first place in the NFC South. You go back to week 3. The Panthers rather made a statement when they shut out and dominated the Falcons at home 30-0. And since then, 4 of their wins have come by 3 points as they're finding ways to win the close games. And on top of them finding ways to win the close games, these were all games that Carolina was down. Okay, you go back to the Miami game. They were down 17, came back and won that game. They were down in week 6 against Dallas. They were down in week 9 on the road against Green Bay. And of course, they were heavy underdogs in that game. I think by the time the kickoff came around, the Panthers were like 13.5 point underdogs in that game. They were an underdog today, but nonetheless, they were down 2 scores in the first half to the Falcons. But when it was all said and done, who won the game? It was the Panthers. So you look at it, their last 2 wins, road wins, came against Green Bay and Atlanta. But aside from the maturation process of Bryce Young, I think signing running back Rico Dowdell, who's a native of South Carolina, really helped this team. He's giving them a good, solid running back, and then of course using a first-round pick on wide receiver Teteroa McMillan, who gives Bryce Young a stud at the wide receiver position. You have a blue-collar defense for the Panthers, which includes cornerback J.C. Horn as well as linebacker Christian Roseboom. And the bottom line is these guys are going out there and getting it done. And whereas in years past that Carolina expected to lose, right now, the way that they're playing, they're expecting to win. But as good as this Panther story has been so far this season, if they're going to make their playoffs, they are going to have to earn it coming down the stretch over the Panthers' final 6 games. You look at it, they've got the 49ers on the road next Monday night, and that's a team that's 1 game ahead of them in the playoff standings right now. Then they will host the Rams in the following Sunday, and then you look at their final three games. They've got the Bucks twice, and sandwiched in between that is a home game against the Seattle Seahawks. But nonetheless, I think if you're the Panthers coming down the stretch, you've got to feel good about your situation because you're playing with house money. Nobody expected you to be here, okay? And you're right in the mix to win this division. You're right in the mix, in that conversation about being a wild card team. And I think if you're Carolina, you're going to play loose coming down the stretch. And the same way that you've been finding ways to win games so far, they're going to find some ways to win some of these contests coming down the stretch here. But again, I think it is a testament to Dave Canales because he went in there and took a job that nobody really wanted. Okay. And you look at the Panthers with what they had been previously. They were a two-win team back in 2023, and they won 5 games last year. And of course, towards the second half of the season, they played better, inspired, more fluid football, and it has been able to carry over to the season. Sometimes you see that with young teams when they're trying to build something. They finish strong one year and they're able to bring it over to the following season and continue to build off of that. And that is what we are seeing from the Panthers so far. So you look at it, like I said, the last time they won 7 games was 2022. I think they're definitely going to exceed that. And I think it's time to look at this team, A, finishing with a winning record, and B, possibly getting into the postseason. It was a slight setback for them last Sunday when they lost at home to the New Orleans Saints, but they bounced right back and took care of their business today against the Falcons. So again, things are definitely trending upwards for this Carolina Panthers team. I like their chances coming down the stretch. Like I said, they're going to have to work for it to get into the postseason. But then again, how many people expected it to even have a conversation at this point in mid-November as far as the Panthers having a chance to get to the playoffs? So it's been a work in progress for Carolina. Let's see if they can keep building, and let's see what the stretch run in this NFL season holds for them. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And as always, if you like what you heard and saw in this podcast, you know what to do. Just hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. And like I always say, it's greatly appreciated. Also, if you are on the X, formerly known as Twitter, you can check me out anytime at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you give me that follow, it'll be my pleasure to do the same in return. And that also goes for Instagram, where you can check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. Also, if you're on Facebook, definitely check out the Sports Depot 365. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports groups going on social media. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off, and I'm saying thanks once again for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.